Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am.
Nino Brown Boxing, and I'm back in the building. Shout out to the LDBC. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. So I've been gone for a couple of days, but now I'm back. It's been a lot of stuff going on in boxing this past weekend, and I want to talk about it. Now, one of my favorite topics to discuss is definitely the welterweight division. It was a lot of stuff going on, from Devin Alexander getting robbed to Shawn Porter and Keith Thurman having a bunch of interviews to Danny Garcia and Shawn Porter, faced off in the ring, screaming and yelling at each other. A lot of that stuff. And my boy Errol Spence, cool, calm, and collective, at home, watching it all go down. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole thing in the welterweight division. Now, this particular video, I want to focus on Shawn Porter and Keith Thurman. So I was paying close attention to the dialogue between Thurman and Porter. And Porter's mission was to gain information. He was trying to figure out when is the fight going to go down, what role is Thurman going to take. Now, see, this is the part that kind of confuses me because it's been in multiple interviews now, Shawn Porter and Kenny Porter have both stated, they're the mandatory and nothing happens without them. Now, see, the shit doesn't make sense because they're talking about, like, all of this drama that the Porters are having with Danny Garcia. It doesn't reflect that they're the number one mandatory. And also, Keith Thurman said it himself. The WBC did not mandate. He said when they mandated, it'll happen. So speaking of Thurman versus Porter, so when that fight is mandated, that's when it'll happen. So with that being said, like, Shawn Porter, how are you guys the mandatory? Now, my opinions on Keith Thurman, has been consistent. I feel like he's ducking and dodging, and he's playing this businessman political role. He's turning into a politician, in my opinion. But when it comes to the whole Shawn Porter thing, I have no sympathy for Porter. Some people will understand why. Some people wonder why. I have no sympathy for Porter because Thurman already beat him. It was a good fight. It was close. But Porter, you lost. It's that simple. You already lost to this man. So Keith Thurman not giving Shawn Porter a definitive answer on what he's going to do, I'm okay with that because he already beat him. Me personally, at this current state of the welterweight division, I do not want to see a Keith Thurman versus Shawn Porter rematch. I don't want to see a Keith Thurman versus Danny Garcia rematch. Now, I truly believe that it's very likely that one of those rematches are going to happen. But I feel like if the rematch is going to happen, and if I'm going to start to decrease the criticism that I have for Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia and Shawn Porter, they need to fight. And then Keith Thurman can face the winner. I'm okay with that. Now, I'm not okay with Keith Thurman, being so dedicated on only fighting twice this year. You've been off. You have a fight coming up. I feel like, what did he say, April? It's the April fight, April, May, one of the two. But let's just say, hypothetically, I can't really remember, so let's just say it's May. You can fight in May, June, July, August, fight mid-September, October, November, and then fight late December. Thurman, you can still get 3 fights in this year. Now, no one is expecting for you to get 3 fights in. If you lose, at that point, we wouldn't even care. So I say, why not go for it? Another thing I've noticed this weekend is, especially like from Thurman and Porter, like the way they talking about the fans, like they getting real disrespectful. Basically, from what I've gathered from everything they've said, they basically don't care about what the fans think. They're going to do what they want to do. And it seems like they're forgetting that the fan is the consumer. See, that's why when I was talking about this whole boycotting Thurman thing, I wasn't one of the ones that said, well, I won't boycott Thurman if he gives us his plan on when he wants to fight Errol Spence. Like, I need to know dates, and the contract needs to be signed. Like I said in the past, Thurman can still take the same route Andre Ward did. He can say, I'm going to fight my tune-up. That's going to be such and such. I'll fight the winner of Porter Garcia. Put that in writing. And then my fight after that, immediately after that, will be Errol Spence Jr. Only under those circumstances will my respect for Keith Thurman, it'll be regained. But if that's not the case, I have no respect for this man right now. But yeah, man, these guys have been very disrespectful to the fans. It seems like they really don't care, and that's why, that's what I was saying, like the whole boycotting thing. I think we need to hit these guys in their pockets because they living real comfortable, and I have nothing against that. But as a consumer of boxing, like just being disrespected over and over again, pretty much them telling us like, you're gonna like what we give you, and you're gonna shut the hell up, and you can't have any type of feedback. You're not a boxer. You have no opinion on the matter. No, I'm not trying to hear that, because at the end of the day, that's why our reviews are a big part of business. The consumer gives their criticism and their feedback of the product that's being given. And damn near any other business. I don't care if I'm buying a Sony TV. I don't care if I have a subscription at Comcast. I don't care if I'm buying I can be buying a washcloth or a pair of boxing gloves. The fans' opinions matter. The consumers, their opinions matter. And the fact that a lot of these guys, they either just don't give a damn, or they're not smart enough to realize that they're doing themselves a disservice by pretty much tossing the fans to the side and looking at this like no matter what they do, no matter what the way that they carry themselves, the fans are going to be there to give them the viewership they need to line their pockets. Now, see, the thing about this whole boycott thing, if people were to get organized and decide, okay, the plan is we're going to unify, and we're going to plan to boycott Thurman's next fight so his numbers are horrible. Now, let's say Thurman, his fight goes on, numbers come back, Thurman does like barely 200,000, on PBC. Now, those numbers are absolutely horrible. And I'm not the numbers guy. I'm not one to get all in the numbers and say, oh, this guy shouldn't fight that guy because his numbers are low. Because to me, that means absolutely nothing. I'm all about saying the best fight the best. I don't care if the numbers are extremely high, they're moderate, or whatever the case may be. But it will be a hit to keep Thurman pockets if his numbers are low on his next fight. If he does a dud in PBC, like I like the PBC, but these guys need to be taught a lesson now. Like I'm getting to the point where I'm just tired of these guys playing these games. But then you go to a guy like Shawn Porter that says some ridiculous shit talking about Errol Spence wasn't on my radar 3 years ago. He wasn't on my radar last year, and he's not, I'm not looking at him now. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, Shawn, you sound crazy. You know that Keith Thurman is injured. You acknowledge Keith Thurman's situation. You are possibly pushing to fight Danny Garcia. Now, the thing that doesn't make sense to me is if you feel so strongly about this and you want to go this WBC route, if you're willing to interject Danny Garcia in your plans and possibly face Garcia before you face Thurman, why not just say my goal is to get the WBC title, and then after I accomplish that goal, I want to get my old belt back from Errol Spence. Like, Shawn, you can say that out of your mouth, but it seems like Shawn doesn't want to be put in a situation where people can hold his feet to the fire, and he has to be a man of his word. That's why they're not even speaking on Errol Spence at all. Another thing is, like the Porters keep saying over and over again, they're not ranked by the IBF. Now, I'm not an employee of the IBF whatsoever, but I've definitely read and I've heard on multiple occasions that fighters apply to be in the rankings. Now, I've never heard the Porters say that they've applied to be in the IBF rankings once again and they were denied. I never heard those things. But this past weekend, we did hear Kenny Porter say how much money they spent to be put in, like for sanctioning fees and to be put in title eliminator after title eliminator. But I'm trying to figure out why weren't those same efforts put in to the IBF. Now, Shawn is over there becoming extremely impatient, but he knew that Thurman was injured, when all of this stuff started. But he decided still to go the WBC route. Like, none of this stuff, to me, is really adding up. It's just a lot of flip-flopping, and I may sound all over the place because the situation is all over the place. But ultimately, it's just one of those things where they just need to fight. They need to stop all this BS. They need to just say how they feel. Now, I understand that things are different, and if Kenny Porter and Shawn Porter just came out and said, like, we don't want no smoke with Errol Spence, they will get bashed. They will get bashed. And, I wouldn't blame them. Now, you got to fight up. I can't even compare the two. I was about to compare Lomachenko team saying that they don't want no parts of Terrence Crawford, but that's different. That's multiple weight classes. This is a different weight. That's a weight class jump, so I can't even compare that. But at this point, it's just like the welterweights, not including Jeff Horn, not including Terrence Crawford, not including Errol Spence, not including Jesse Vargas. Mainly Keith Thurman, Shawn Porter, and Danny Garcia. They just looking soft. And like this whole situation can be fixed if the WBC just makes it very clear of what's going to happen. WBC can say, Thurman, you've had this belt for a good amount of time now. It's been a year. I know you've been injured, but you have to meet a certain timeline. You can say, okay, well, you're fighting in April or May. You have to fight again in this time. You have a mandatory, and you have to reach negotiations with whoever your mandatory is by such and such days. So let's say May, June, July. For mid-July, you have to reach negotiations, and then late August, early September, we need you defending that WBC strap. It's mandated. If not, if you can't do it, you'll be stripped. It's really that simple. It seems like the WBC, they're not really putting their foot down. And the part that really doesn't make sense to me is all of these guys, they get paid close to the same amount. I'm not going to say exactly the same, but from what I see, PBC has been paying their fighters close to the same amount. And it just seems like the WBC wouldn't be gaining much from their sanctioning fees by having Thurman hold on to that belt. It seemed to me it would make more sense to have a champion that's a lot more active. I wish the way that they put things for Jamil Charlo at 154, I wish they'd do that for Thurman. But I don't know, man. It's just like I may sound all over the place in this video. I guess the overall point for me is like I want these guys to fight. I want contracts to be put in place. I want the WBC to mandate things, and I want people to stop bullshitting and pussyfooting around and somebody hop in the ring with Errol Spence. That's pretty much all I want. I just want the best fighting the best. Whoever comes out on top, they will be top pound for pound in my book over any weight class. I believe the welterweight division is stacked. It's extremely deep. They need to start conducting themselves like the champions in the other weight classes. How Terrence Crawford conducted himself at 140, then they take a page out of his book. How you got guys like Jamil Charlo, Jared Hurd, and Aristotle Laura conducting themselves at 154. They're ready to get in the ring. They're ready to unify. They're not talking all of this political BS. They're ready to fight, find out who's the best, and that just be that. It's just all of this stuff right now that's going on. The problem is the fighters, they are the problem, but the biggest problem is it's all being allowed. I feel like if people just decide to put their foot down, and say, okay, man, cut all the bullshit out. These fights are going on. This is your timeline. If you have a problem with that, kick rocks. Now, I understand that Al Heyman's not a promoter. You know, he's a manager and advisor. But at the same time, you have the networks and you have the sanctioning bodies that definitely have the power to make those type of moves. But that's just my take on it, guys. I'll come back with another video soon. This is Nino Brown Boxing. Shout out to the LDBC. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Peace.